This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Housing alone will never solve homelessness, but community will. This is John Calloway, the Executive Director of Mission Waco. Welcome to It Takes a Village with Creekside Community Village, where we will discuss Mission Waco's newest project, Creekside Community Village, the most talked about neighborhood in Waco. This transformational development combines permanent supportive housing with life-giving community engagement. I hope you'll join us along this journey as we hear from stakeholders involved in helping make this dream a reality. All right, welcome to another episode of It Takes a Village with Creekside Community Village. My name is John Calloway. I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director at Mission Waco, which is the umbrella organization that Creekside Community Village is under. Here with me today is Jonah Fox. He's been on staff since the beginning of the summer. He's the Chief Village Officer. He's done a lot of different things in his life. We're excited that he's joined us. He's got a rich history of both construction, real estate, and ministry. And so he's a great fit for stepping in to lead Creekside. And so, Jonah, man, glad you're with us. I want to start, though, first with a deep theological question.
Oh, my goodness.
And that it's been pressing for the 4 months that you've been on staff with us is, how much time does it take to take care of your hair?
Oh, my goodness. The hair it's a big question.
It's gorgeous.
Frequently. Hey, you're
gorgeous.
Very kind. I don't know, probably between the shampoo, conditioner, brush and take care of it, probably 10 minutes a day,
Okay. I mean, that's certainly more than me, but that's not what I thought it'd be more.
Yeah. I spend a lot of money on shampoo and conditioner. I do save money on haircuts. It kind of, it balances
Well, one of these days
so.
I'll show you some pictures from my hippie days.
Yeah.
I had dreadlocks that were down below my shoulders.
Oh my goodness. I think we need, do we do show notes on this? We need to.
No, maybe we can add that later. Yeah. We can edit that out. All right. So serious question. Share a little bit about your personal journey. What led you to sort of become the Chief Village Officer at Creekside?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up here in Waco. I'm a Waco native. I say Waco because that's what everybody who grew up in the burbs, says. But I grew up in Robinson, went to Robinson High School. Go Rockets. To all my fellow Rockets out there. And grew up at Meadowbrook Baptist Church, a church here in Waco that's been involved with Mission Waco for a long time. My family was involved with Mission Waco probably from the time I remember serving and being involved with Mission Waco from the time I was probably 9 or 10 years old.
And you did a Eagle Scout project, right?
I did, yeah. So I was an Eagle Scout, did my Eagle Scout project with Mission Waco at our Jubilee Theater. So did a project there. And then I went on the Mission Waco poverty simulation when I was 14 years old. I think I was in 8th or 9th grade. Went on that for a weekend. I say that experience was probably one of the most that shaped kind of my understanding of material poverty and the realities that people were facing in Waco, going on the poverty simulation as a kid. Just from there through high school into college, I came back and I would serve at poverty simulations, leading groups through that as a volunteer. So, yeah.
As a quick plug, we have Poverty Sims coming up throughout this fall. The bigger the group, the better. It's a fun experience, about 72 hours. Where you experience a very surface level view of poverty, but still it helps people understand what it's like to live in poverty, the decisions that you face. So that's awesome that you had that experience. Tell us a little bit about what motivates you to want to serve folks who are unhoused, those that have struggled with homelessness. What is it? I think because a lot of us who grew up middle class especially have a lot of myths around homelessness, and most of those myths are not helpful. They're not good. And so a lot of us end up having a negative view of those struggling with homelessness. What is it that motivates you to want to help those?
Yeah, I think when I think of the idea of home and the marks of home, I think home is a consistent theme through my life. I know many people are not blessed with the type of home and family of origin and that sort of thing that I just happen to be lucky enough to be blessed in that way. That my family of origin is incredibly healthy. I remember when I think about home, that idea, I think of my grandparents' house here in Waco. Their house was 3 doors down, grew up very close to them. And I remember going into their home and just this tangible feeling of when it was cold outside, their house was always warm. And it would just hit you with this wave of warmth as you came inside. Or when it was really hot outside in the summer, you get hit with this wave of cool. But more than just the physical aspect, the non-tangible things about being in their home in particular, just influenced me in so many ways when I think about home and stability and that sort of thing. And so home has always been a really important idea for me, for my wife and I too. We're a foster adoptive family. We've been able to adopt our 2 daughters out of foster care, and we had about 10 kiddos come through our home at different times through foster care. And we've envisioned what like home and family looks like, so many different iterations of that, like over and over again, and have had to think about, what does it mean to be family? What does it mean to be home, to provide a home to people who don't, and that sort of thing. And so just the ideas of home, the idea of family are so important to me that I think there's this conviction of like, and there are people that don't have this, that are without this, because of what we say at Mission Waco and at Creekside Community Village is that one of the leading causes of homelessness is a catastrophic breakdown of the family, that a catastrophic loss of family, that somewhere in the stories of many of our friends and neighbors who are experiencing homelessness, who have experienced homelessness, somewhere along that way, that family, that home was broken down in some way through foster care, through addiction, through abuse, through a divorce, something like that. And so when I juxtapose like my experience and then the experience of so many others, there's this conviction of there's a role to be played here in helping think about home, think about family, think about community, that maybe I have a role in playing a part in.
One of the things you'll hear us say a lot on this podcast is, because the leading cause of homelessness is this breakdown, this catastrophic loss of family, housing alone is never going to solve homelessness. It's going to be community that does that.
Absolutely.
It's replacing that family that they may not have ever had with a rich community that's life-giving.
And when I think about, like, for example, I talk about like my family of origin, the community, the family that I had. Say if I struggled with an addiction or had a job loss or an injury or something like that prevented my, material success or being able to maintain my housing or that sort of thing, I could call them and have 15 people there in a matter of minutes, you know, and there's people that because of that breakdown in family, because of the loss of connection to a solid, stable network and community, that's not their reality. Yeah. And people are out there on their own. One thing we talk about too is loneliness in our world, in our community today. That the Surgeon General says that like 1 in 3 Americans are struggling with catastrophic loneliness, and they don't have any close confidants.
Well, one of my favorite quotes from Mother Teresa is that the most devastating form of poverty is loneliness. And when you think about the social determinants of health, and the impacts of physical health, and certainly we know that to be true about mental health, but a lot of us don't think about how it affects our physical health as well when we don't have community, because that's the way God designed us. God designed us to live in community, and so when we don't, we're out of whack. Yeah. Physically, spiritually, mentally, all those things are thrown off. And so it makes a huge difference. So for those of our listeners who maybe have not listened to some other episodes, maybe this is their first one, tell us a little bit more about what Creekside Community Village is and what makes it so unique to other housing initiatives across the U.S.
Absolutely. So Creekside Community Village here in Waco, Texas, is a 70-acre master plan community for people exiting chronic homelessness. So we're located right outside the city limits here in the ETJ in Waco, pretty close to downtown Waco, Baylor's campus, that sort of thing. And we will function as a community for people who are exiting chronic homelessness, having a permanent place to live. So kind of a way that people talk about our type of community is permanent supportive housing. But our offer is for people to live out the rest of their lives at Creekside if that's something they choose to do. Neighbors at Creekside, people who live there, we refer to them as our neighbors. They pay rent to live in the community. So this is not a free place to come live and do whatever you want, but people pay rent. There are community rules as there are in any other multifamily community. There's opportunities for community engagement, to serve, to volunteer, to get your hands dirty. In the future, we envision the ability for people to work within the community, and that be a role where people can create dignified income for themselves. And then all sorts of, our aim is to have community wraparound services. When we say that, we mean like mental health services offered on site through partner relationships that we have, healthcare provided on site via community partners, that sort of thing. So our goal is that we're creating a community that is in a way kind of self-contained, that it's a full person community there at Creekside.
So many of our listeners may not know that we're not making this up as we go.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably elements of it that we all are, right?
It sounds crazy. If you've never heard the idea, you're like, what is this?
So tell me a little bit more about why that's true. What is our model? And then what do you love about who we're modeling this after?
Yeah, So we have the awesome privilege of modeling our community after a community not far from us at all. Just right under 2 hours south of us is Community First Village in Austin, started by an organization called Mobile Loaves and Fishes. Their founder, his name is Alan Graham. And Community First Village, currently they have I think it's around 500 people living in their community. They've been around for about 10 years, and they're doing, I believe, about a 2,000 home expansion currently.
That's correct.
They've figured out this model, and they are growing, and they are meeting a need for housing and for community in Austin. And so they've kind of become the vision, kind of the North Star of what we're looking at, obviously with our own local iterations and kind of version of and flavor of that type of life. But we're looking at them and saying, oh, this is possible. And this community isn't in a context that's all that different from ours, all that far away, anything like that. What I love when I visit Community First is there's like this air that you just feel of like, wow, people really care about each other here. And this isn't just a, with no disrespect intended, this isn't just like a public housing project or just a place for people to live in a box, but Community First Village is truly a connected, loving community. And I think we aim to develop the same type of thing.
So Creekside is modeled after Community First Village, which I believe they just celebrated their 10th anniversary.
Yep.
What do you envision Creekside Community Village to look like in 5 to 10 years?
Gosh, I hope that, practically, I hope we're done building in that time period. You know, if anybody wants to come alongside us and help give to the construction of Creekside, that's awesome. This community, to this point, is being built largely through individual donors, churches, very generous folks coming forward and saying this is a need. And so 10 years from now, I hope we're done building, is on the practical side of things. But more than that, my hope and my prayer is that Creekside would be a place that people visit and they say, man, I wish I could live here. I wish that this could be a place that I could live because of the type of community, the type of connection, the friendship that's felt at the village. And I trust that will be the case. It's a culture that we have to build, though. It's not something that's just going to happen. And so that's something that really weighs heavy on me and kind of keeps me up at night, this conviction of culture can't just be architected, right? We can't just design it, but we have to build it from day one, that we're continuing to build that culture. But I think that would be my hope, that people feel a tangible experience of the kingdom of God when they walk onto property at Creekside Community Village. And it's almost like this, like, oh, this is what I've been missing all along, right? Like this is,
Well, and I think that too, the idea of it being permanent is it's permanent. And we say that, and that sounds interesting, but when you go to Community First, one of the more beautiful pictures that you see when you go down there is they have these columbariums for people that have passed away. And so instead of those people being buried at a pauper cemetery with maybe a number on their grave, maybe a name, here they have a nickname, their nickname on there. They have their favorite Bible verse or their favorite saying or their favorite quote. And it's just this picturesque but real, version of what it means to live somewhere permanently.
Yeah, and their friends will come to, and their family to that monument. They columbarium that they have there at Community First, and leave flowers and notes and spend time reflecting and remembering on about their friend, their family member. Yeah,
a large part of what we do already with My Brother's Keeper, which is Mission Waco's 56-bed emergency shelter for men and women, is family reunification. That's one of the positive outcomes that we measure to see whether or not the shelter is being successful. And we want to see that out at Creekside Community Village as well. One of the aspects that we'll have, probably not this year, hopefully by the end of next year, are a number of Airbnbs that people can rent, but especially for family members to come and experience the Welcome Home Center, which will be our multi-purpose space on site, for families to reunify, to have those conversations they haven't had in 20 years.
And our team, our staff, maybe volunteers can maybe also play a role in that reunification, in that mediation. If everybody would allow us, like, hey, what if we what if we bring a therapist to the table? What if we come to the table and we talk about that stuff that went down 20 years ago? And we begin to kind of heal that. And maybe that doesn't mean this person, moves back home or something like that, but maybe we can set a different trajectory for people's lives here.
Well, once people have stability, they've got a roof over their head, there are elements that can be rebuilt. It takes time to piece their life back together. And that's part of the hope of living in community, is that you're not doing it alone. And you've got accountability, and you've got encouragement, and you have resources that didn't exist before. One of those resources that we're hoping to provide is for a special group that is in our city that we don't talk a lot about. Can you talk to us about what the Creekside Heroes Fund is and why that's important?
Absolutely. So the Creekside Heroes Fund comes from our team looking at the data of people in our community who are experiencing homelessness. And we kind of dug into the numbers a little bit, looked at kind of the maps, graphs, and charts a bit, and we came to this conclusion that it seems that around 15% of people experiencing homelessness in Waco are veterans, that they have served in the armed forces in some capacity, and they now find themselves unhoused. And when you think about that there are people who have given of their lives to serve our country, who have put themselves in harm's way, but made the commitment of I want to serve my community, Waco, Texas, McLennan County, the United States of America, with my life in this way, that come home and because of one thing or another, maybe addiction, PTSD, that sort of thing, a breakdown in family, among other things, find themselves unhoused. And I think our team had just said, shoot, that is not something that we're okay with.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, we decided to make a designation at Creekside to designate 15% of homes at Creekside Community Village to housing unhoused veterans in our communities until we are hopeful that we could reach a practical zero of homeless veterans in McLennan County. And there's a couple other projects happening at the same time that are working toward that number. But we believe that because of this designation, we could reach a point where in Waco, we do not have homeless veterans, which is really, really exciting.
Talk to us about the cost of those homes and how many we're raising in phase one to finish off. How many do we have left? A lot of these funds don't just go to fund a home, but they go to the other community amenities that are necessary to not just help someone be lifted off the streets, but to stay off the streets.
Yeah, and to live a flourishing life, right? And so the cost of a home is about $50,000 is what we're looking to raise. And in phase one, with that 15% designation, we have 5 homes that'll be dedicated specifically to housing homeless veterans. And so we do at this point, I believe, have 4 more homes that we're looking to fund at $50,000 to help ensure that we can move those 5 veterans off the streets and into community at Creekside Community Village. And so that's an opportunity if you feel and kind of a conviction, a leading that, man, I want to be a part of ensuring that every veteran in Waco has a place to live, a place to belong, then we would invite you to give to that opportunity, among other things, but any amount really that you might be led to contribute to meeting that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think would be a great.
One, I think you mentioned sort of, and we've discussed this a lot, about the breakdown of family. I mean, what a beautiful picture, though, for, I think, of my own kids and the gift we've given to Creekside and continue to give, to be able to take them out there and to say, hey, our money helped build this home.
Yeah.
And I want to introduce you to John Doe. I want to introduce you to this person who is living there.
Yeah.
Because our money matters, and it matters where we spend it. And what a better way to spend it on impacting people. Because it's not just one veteran for that one particular home. That veteran may pass away. They may go on, when their feet are underneath them, go on to maybe own their own home or live in an apartment complex. They may live there permanently. But there's going to be someone after. Right. And so it's 2, it's 3, you scale it
could
be hundreds of just that one home. By providing that, it impacts that many people.
I was looking at our coordinated entry list. Coordinated entry is a system in which collaborating agencies work toward housing folks who are homeless. And there is an individual on that list, a 31-year-old man who is a veteran who was unhoused. And that hit home because that's pretty close to me right there. And when I saw his birth year and all this, I was like, man, what's so different between this guy and myself? That he would find himself unhoused on this coordinated entry list. And how cool would it be to just for that guy to move into our community and just become a friend, you know, that become somebody of, and our stories are really different. But when you look at both from Waco, we're both about the same age. We're like, you know, how crazy.
I think a lot of us that do have friendships with those who are unhoused or have been unhoused, for most of us, we realize that our lives are really not that far removed from someone who's like that and has ended up in that experience. They've, in large part, not chosen to stay at my shelter. I mean, to be unhoused where they've had to choose to stay at the shelter.
Right.
Things we like to say this a lot at Mission Waco, and certainly Creekside Community Village. We want this to be true. We want to move people from thinking what's wrong with this person to what's happened to this person. And the only way you get there is to have a relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what God calls us to. That is the gospel in action. We want to connect with people. And that means to me personally that I share about the things that I love, and that's Jesus. And Jesus has changed my life, and Jesus can change this individual's life. You know, that's certainly not a requirement for anyone to live there, but it is a part of the ethos of who we are.
It's an invitation.
It's an invitation. It's very well said. So speaking about invitations, how can local residents, churches, businesses get involved in Creekside Community Village and maybe more specifically the Heroes Fund?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say coming alongside us and giving to that Heroes Fund is one of the biggest ways to move the needle in that regard right now. And so it may look like a church small group or life group Sunday school class coming together and saying, hey, we as a group feel a conviction that this is not okay and we want to help house an unhoused veteran in our community. That's a great way for a Sunday school class to come together to help meet a need there. I would say, too, it would be investing in the village, relationally as we come to open around. We're hoping for the first quarter of 2026. And I would say come invest your life and serve, be a part of what we're doing, come provide community meals, come serve in different capacities that we'll have available, and build relationships with people in our community who've experienced significant challenges and come to know them as friends that you see regularly. Eat meals alongside and invest in that way for sure.
So I think also a lot of times we miss that not only are we designed to live in community, to know one another, but we're also designed to serve in community.
Yeah.
I think some of the most profound experiences I've ever had in my life, when I look back on it, is been those moments where God has shown up through serving with a group of men on a trip, or if it's in our own backyard, it's serving with a small group, or even more profoundly, serving with your family. One of my most fun things is, because it's the world I live in every single day, I love to bring my kids to a chapel service at my brother's keeper, right? Or to have them help me grill out and feed folks who are at the shelter, or it's just coming to one of the events at Mission Waco, because I want them to grow up understanding that a key element of discipleship is how are we serving others.
Yeah.
That God has entrusted in Scripture, the Greek word's called oikos. We have this circle of influence that God has put in our life. And for many of us, if we're not serving in community, we're missing out on what Jesus wants to do in our life. So if you're listening to this, there's going to be incredible opportunities. There already is. We've got a serve day coming up. By the time you're listening to this, I'm not sure you'll be in time for it, but tell us a little about the serve day, because it'll reflect what we'll have in the future too.
Absolutely. So this initial serve day, October 4th. So if maybe you're listening to this too late to be a part, that's okay. We missed you. Join us next time. But we're having, right now, I think we're up to about 60 folks, probably more, who are coming out to just help us with some land clearing, a little bit of cleaning, some painting. We're doing stuff like that. And it's really kind of a first experience, I believe, really for volunteers to kind of touch Creekside outside of maybe our groundbreaking. I think we've done some tours and that sort of things, but this is the first time to kind of get some hands dirty and be a part of what God's doing at Creekside. And I think more so than anything, it's that invitation. Hey, let's begin this work, of being a community that's raising this community that is coming alongside our neighbors. And I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to hopefully not have to encounter too many snakes or things like that. We'll keep an eye out for
poison
that.
ivy.
But, poison ivy, all the things. But No, we're really looking forward to it. And then truly, with other opportunities in the future, we have a ton of people that are really excited about being at Creekside. And it's kind of this tension of like, yes, I want you to do something. I want you to be a part of this. And I wish it could happen tomorrow, but we're just not there yet. And so we just need folks to hang on with us until really about the first quarter of the year, when opportunities will open up for people to serve in different capacities, to come lead Bible studies, to do different groups. There's folks who are passionate about like AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, that sort of thing is a great opportunity, for us to offer that at Creekside. I've told, John before, I think there's no reason why every Sunday night at Creekside we shouldn't have a community meal, because how many thousands of Sunday school groups and life groups and things like that are meeting on Sunday evenings in Waco, Texas, and just, hey, give us a night out of the year and come. And every single Sunday night we should have a community meal. So yeah, there's going to be lots and lots of opportunities. And kind of what I've said is, what do you love and are interested in and care about, and how can you bring that and have it be a part of our village, right? If you love gardening, come garden alongside our neighbors. I'm really hopeful this is a conversation John and I are having, but really hopeful for like livestock and having.
Are you going to talk about the petting zoo?
Not the petting. No, that's a teaser for future. Keep your mind open to a petting zoo maybe down the line. But hey, say we have some animals out there at some point. There's people out there who their skills and giftedness, they understand that. And I don't. I'm just kind of a poser, a dreamer, in that livestock space. But we need people who understand that to come help me and our neighbors take care of, our future animals well. And
So you mentioned sort of a move-in date of first of the year. Talk to us about where we are currently, development-wise. What are we going to see happening on site in the next 2 to 3 months?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who's done a tour this summer, I've kind of said like, hey, come back and visit in like 6 months, because it'll be a lot more interesting to look at that point. So right now we are in a place where our water utilities are completed. Electricity is in the works right now. And then hopefully by the end of September, we will have permanent power established on site. We got our electrical poles up, did a post on Instagram about that recently, that's huge for us getting permanent power to the site. Then from there, we'll do our grading and paving. We'll see roadways, sidewalks, that sort of thing go in. And I think at that point, that's in which somebody could really envision like, oh, this is what this is going to kind of look like. But we're hoping and praying for mid-November we begin putting homes down on slabs on site that'll come in from our friends at Leland and Grandview. Leland Cabins is doing a big kind of home order for us. We have some other church groups and things like that are doing homes as well. But mid-November for that, and truly by the end of the year, I think we'll be able to see the village phase 1 taking shape. It'll be really cool.
Cool. All right, last question.
Yes.
If you could leave our listeners with one hope, challenge, or invitation, what would it be?
Gosh, I would say to seek to look to deeply connect with people around you, especially people who are really different from you, like our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness. That, as we mentioned earlier, people in our world, in our town, in our city are struggling with loneliness. They're struggling with not having a sense of friendship and community. And that is the invitation to us as people who follow the way of Jesus, that we reach out to our neighbor, we connect with them, we know them, and we love them. And so that would be the challenge of look to deeply connect with someone who may be really different from you, and see if maybe it might be possible to form a friendship with them. I think that's the invitation. And then Creekside is a great place to do that here soon. And so if you're ready to take that step to walk alongside people with a different story from you, come do that with us as we're trying to figure out how to do that at Creekside Community Village.
Well, if you're interested in giving or learning more about Creekside, you can go to our website, creeksidewaco.org. It'll also explain on there what our Creekside Heroes Fund is, how you can give to that. If you want to learn more about the Creekside Heroes Fund, we have an event coming up at the Baylor Club. It's our annual Champions of Service breakfast. We've done it for over 15 years now. This year's featured speaker is John Morris, who's quote-unquote the voice of the Baylor Bears. You'll hear him at most athletic events.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of people who maybe don't know what John looks like, but they'll recognize his voice without a doubt.
Very true, very true. So you can come here live and in person October 10th at 6:45 in the morning. Breakfast is provided. It's $50 a ticket. You can sponsor a table for $500 or be one of our other sponsors. You can find that on our events page on our website. We're also going to have a unique live auctioned painting from Cade Kegris, who's kind of become a famous local artist. He did the Frida painting on the side of our Concord Center, where Helados Azteca, the ice cream shop is, and he's done the
All
history,
sorts of murals
all over the city. He's going to be doing a live painting during the event that we're going to auction off at the end. So it's going to be a ton of fun, but we're going to learn and talk more about what the Heroes Fund is. Please be on the lookout for other podcast episodes about Creekside Community Village. It takes a village. We'll have a variety of guests coming on. Eventually, as we get residents moved on, we're going to be doing interviews with neighbors and folks learning their story, because I think that's where people really see impact, is when they get to meet somebody. So stay tuned. You can find this episode on any of the places that you listen to an episode, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. We'd love for you to stay tuned and learn more. And my name's John Calloway. Jonah Fox, thank you for being with us, our Chief Village Officer.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Y'all have a good rest of your day. You can follow us on Creekside Community Village social handles and where you listen to your own podcasts.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.